Hi, Alan Stratton from woodturning. As I considered this project, I knew I wanted to try yet another project with my hazelnut trimmings from last year. And I thought somehow I wanted to put 3 sticks together. My first thought was to put a dowel between them to hold them together. My second thought was to route a mortise and put a spline in between each one. But then as I got close, I remembered my Boy Scout days. This is very much like a pioneering project that we did when I was a Boy Scout many years ago. And so I thought, why not try it? However, I did have some concerns, like would it hold together on the lathe? Could I actually hold it on the lathe? So I think it worked. This is a little bowl made out of 3 sticks of hazelnut, just lashed together with nylon string, routed, turned out in the middle, turned on the ends. So let's make this little natural edge. I don't know for sure what you call this little bowl.
I've cut 3 pieces of hazelnut about 5 inches long and 1.5 inches in diameter. I don't want saw marks on the ends. These will mount nicely in my long nose jaws without damage. Using a spindle gouge, I'm rounding the ends with a smooth curve, then sanding each end up through the grits. Repeated 5 more times. At this point, I originally planned to route a groove into each piece to receive a spline. However, as I thought through the process, it suddenly occurred to me that this is a lot like working on the pioneering merit badge as a Boy Scout. What I had was a raft in the making. All I had to do was to lash them together like a scout would. But could I turn a project that was only lashed together? What if it moved? How could I mount it to the lathe? All sorts of questions. In the end, I decided to abandon the spline approach and go with the lashing approach. I found some nylon string and set out to lash the limbs together. Most of my pioneering projects started with a clovage. Okay, so far, so good. Now to wind the string around the limbs, under and over, back and forth 3 times, while keeping the lashings neat. Then at least 2 wraps around the string between the logs to cinch up the lashing. Finally, tie it off. For the first one, I used a clovage. Later, I switched to ending with 2 half hitches. Then burn off the end of the thread so it would not unravel. Whew! So far, so good. It appears to be pretty stiff. Now, can I mount it to the lathe? Will I need Kevlar in addition to my face shield? Now for the mount. I'm using a large threaded wood faceplate. There's a video way back on how I make them. I wrap the limbs with masking tape for protection, then wrap them again with duct tape for a little more strength. Then I marked the middle of the center limb and held the limbs to the faceplate with the tailstock. Then I screwed 4 chipboard scraps around the limbs. I recessed the screws to avoid the possibility of hitting them with a tool. A drywall screw sheared off and I had to wind it out with vice grips. After screwing the scrap around the limbs, I added hot melt glue to strategic points on the scrap, primarily ends where a lift could start. Then I added hot melt glue between the scraps and the limbs at their sides and ends. The tape will protect the limbs, and the limbs are not going to move. Then carefully turn a hollow into the limbs. I stopped just over halfway through the center board. The final turning was almost anticlimactic. Then sanded up through the grits before extracting the limbs and applying walnut oil. For me, this lashed log candy dish is a bit nostalgic of scouting as a Boy Scout, myself, with my sons, and as a Scoutmaster. I like my lashed log dish. I may use it for candy or nuts. I also give tribute to Jim White, my scoutmaster in Billings, Montana, several decades ago, and another project with my hazelnut prunings. We'll see you again next week for another wood turning video. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and tell your friends. Always wear your full face shield. Goggles are not enough protection. Until next week, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. Let's keep on turning.